So here we are, first week in August, and we finally survived the brutal heat wave where it was consecutive days of 100-degree weather. This morning we had a nice rain and it's in the 70s. And I haven't been out to the garden for a couple days, so I'm kind of curious to go out there and see what it's going to look like. Usually by about this time of year, the grass is starting to get brown, but we've been fortunate to have more rain this season than we've had in many. I picked a whole bunch of these mammoth jalapenos, and yesterday Lovey and I had a very successful endeavor of making pickles and salsa and cowboy candy, and she made several kinds of cucumber salads, and they all turned out pretty good. These cucumbers are starting to look played out. It always gets this time of year. A lot of the plants start looking rough. They've produced, and the bugs get in on everything. But hanging from the top of that trellis, pretty cool. Have to get in here and check these little pickling cucumbers. They were voted off the island. That's what they do. They turn kind of yellow. They didn't fare well in the heat at all, and they're kind of bitter. Sometimes they say if you don't pick cucumbers early enough, they start forming, telling the plants that it's going to seed, and they stop producing fruit, or the fruit gets bitter. And I'll kind of testify, some of those cucumbers can get pretty sour. Waiting for the Kentucky Wonders to give us a second helping. We got plenty of blooms on here. I think if the weather stays nice, we'll continue to get more. And just for the sake of gardening, I cleared out where our corn was, and I'm going to try and get a couple more rows of beans to germinate. Hopefully they'll do something. We'll see. I've never really tried beans for the fall. Our peppers, poblanos, big Berthas, more jalapenos. What do we got here? Let's see. These big red ones should be producing. I've got one I've been waiting on back here. I'll just pull it out and see what we can find, what we think today. Not too bad. Let it turn red. Our second wave of tomatoes have started producing. I think we'll be having them into November. It really don't get that warm or cold. You might get a cold spot, but then it'll warm back up. So hopefully if the frost doesn't come. Got more bush beans. And I put these in this barrel to see if they would draw the moisture up from the bottom of that trough. And the jury's out. They've survived, but they haven't thrived. And I won't be planting those what are they called? Sun sweet or sun sugar. They don't get big enough. One little bitty old thing. But look here. This okra. I like the flowers. I think the flowers are pretty. I don't like eating okra. I'd like to find a good recipe. And these, keep getting these little stupid grasshoppers everywhere, and I'm suffering that. This is sun scald, and it's an attribution to the heat we've had. People say you can put shade cloths over your plants to try and protect them, but boy, if it ain't one thing, it's 10 others. And let's see what's going on in Tomato Alley here. They're starting to need trimmed off. I need to take and prune some of the vines, and they're slowing down. But I've enjoyed the sunflowers this year. Cherry tomatoes are loaded. Just needing to grow a little more. The heat's just put everything, lots of heat stress. I tried to find another German Johnson tomato plant, and if I can't find any in the future, I am going to save some seeds, because these just are huge. And you slice one up and it covers a whole slice of bread. I've got to pull these out. Super Fantastics. And I've got another Super Fantastic that was a second planting as well, right here. And as you can tell, I've got to get a stake or something because it's leaning over. I'll have to stake that so it doesn't fall. But this year's garden's been a blessing. We're very thankful. And happy gardening.